In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with Tre Tailor. Coping. Hey there, and thank you so much for joining us on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. Today, we're coping with scleroderma. If you joined us last week, we spoke with scleroderma survivor and advocate Monica Hilton about her journey. Today, we are taking it to the medical side. Board certified family physician Dr. Nicole Edwards joins us. Nicole, thank you again. Hadn't seen you in a while on the show, but we thank you so much for joining us. You've been a busy bee, girl.
I have been, but it's always a pleasure. I'm always loving coming back to Coping.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're going to come right back with Dr. Nicole and talk about scleroderma. But first, don't forget to check the bottom of the screen throughout the show. We are scrolling information about vaccines, job listings, financial resources, including scholarships, help with your rent, your mortgage, and your bills, all of that and so much more scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Also, we are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Please post, share, like, and follow so we can get this important message to the masses. Today, we are coping with scleroderma. If you joined us last week, you heard the story about Monica Hilton, and you all may have known her. Nicole and I, we were talking before we got on the air, and you remember her from, you said she had a event space in Columbia, South Carolina, where you guys used to do gigs, because Nicole is a singer in her other life.
Yeah, and the cake lady, she made this awesome amaretto flavored birthday cake for me. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. Well, she talked about, she moved to Atlanta, if you remember from last week. She wanted to do, she kind of take her business to the next level. She was on Cake Boss. She was on a couple of other shows. And then she started getting ill. And we found out, Nicole, that she has scleroderma. She said she had no idea about it. How can you find out if you have scleroderma? Is there a test that we should be taking?
So there's not like a screening test. It's not like getting your mammogram to make sure you don't have breast cancer, or going to get your colonoscopy to screen out and get symptoms, catch things before it turns in. A lot of times you don't know you have it until you have the symptoms. And honestly, it just feels like something's not quite right. You have to be in tune with your body and know what your bodies are changing. I personally also have a autoimmune disease, and one of those rare ones where people don't know that they have it. And sometimes, especially as women, especially as African American women, we tend to write things off. Oh, it's nothing. I'm just gonna sleep it off. I'm gonna pray it away. No, if your body is changing and something's not right, first of all, you have to go into your doctor. I hope you have a doctor.
Right. That's the first thing. Have a doctor.
And one that you can talk to, because unfortunately, in today's day and age, we only get it's really 8 minutes with our doctor. If you go to a traditional doctor, because there's just not enough time to see patients. So if you're trying to tell your doctor something and you can't get it out, or you feel like you're not being heard by your doctor, sometimes you need to request another appointment or request another doctor, but you've got to have your needs addressed. I know a lot of times with autoimmune diseases, we tend to downplay them ourselves, our symptoms, and sometimes the doctors will even downplay the symptoms. But when you have changes with scleroderma too, most times they see it first in their skin, and a lot of times they'll see it in their, they get fatigued and tired because they're not able to eat a lot of times like they used to. And so they get fatigued and tired a lot of times. Their skin starts to feel tight. Their fingertips start to feel funny.
And that's what she said.
Funny. They get weak. But a lot of times, you know how you might have known beforehand, your blood pressure was up. But did you go to the doctor to find out that your blood pressure was up?
Right.
You might have arterial hypertension, where the arteries to even your lungs are, you have blood pressure, increased pressure in your arteries to your lungs. And so you're getting short of breath, just walk into the mailbox and you're out of breath. You don't have the capacity like you used to have. These are the things that we need to be watching out for. You got to know your body. And then you have to translate that to your doctor. And then if you don't feel like you're being listened to, find another doctor.
Yeah.
Be the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. they'll start to do some tests, they'll start to do some monitoring, but a lot of times it's already advanced before we even find out about it.
Yeah, today we are coping with scleroderma. You may have joined us last week and saw the story about Monica Hilton, the cake lady, as she was known here in the Southeast. And she has scleroderma, and it drastically changed her life. How common is scleroderma, Nicole?
It really isn't that common. It's kind of a rare autoimmune disease. We do see it more times in women than we do others, and we do see it a lot of times in African American women.
Really?
Others
Just
as well.
another thing we got to tell.
Another thing, like as if we needed to add anything else to our list, right? But it actually is very rare. I think one of the reasons why I think it's rare is because there's not a lot of traction about it. You don't hear a lot about people talking about it. It doesn't have a lot of play in social media or in, celebrities that have it. So you don't really hear about it a lot. I think it's probably happening more than we even know. And again, we are trying to hide a lot of symptoms, and we're trying to woman up or man up, deal with things on our own. So I think, but it's not very common.
Yeah, scleroderma, as you can see on the screen, it's the tightening of the skin. I remember Monica said that her skin was so tight that it was shiny. So of course, if your skin's tight, if your limbs are tight, you can't move. Sometimes you can't eat. So it's a terrible disease. To your point that we don't hear a lot about it. I remember Monica said that with her catering and her baking, she said God showed her that her name would be in lights. And I told her, well, they were, because of the various things she did, but now maybe this is how her name will be in lights for her advocacy for scleroderma. So, girl, I tell you just never know why things happen in our lives, but we have to remember, and I was just telling somebody this yesterday, that God is still in control.
Absolutely. Because we never know where we're being taken. And hopefully, like I said, since it doesn't have a lot of a big name and it's not out there, we can get this out there, and so that people can be aware. Because again, if you don't know that something is wrong, then how do you know to go and get help? And the thing about scleroderma, like most autoimmune diseases, it can affect so many different parts of our body. You name it, it's going to affect it. Mainly it's the skin, but also the bones and the joints, blood vessels, our stomach, our brains, our hearts, our lungs. So it can affect everywhere. So you really have to, and sometimes it's the symptoms that we, that heartburn that doesn't seem to go away. Or that little shortness of breath that, and that's just a little touch of asthma. I love how we always have a touch of something. Oh, I just have a touch of the pressure. No, honey, if your blood pressure is higher than 180, it is abnormal. Okay, really, if it's not in the 120s over 80s, it's abnormal, and we need to go find out why. Let's figure out and let's treat it. But we just got a touch of the sugar or a touch of no, honey, it's not a touch. Let's go ahead and fix that, and let's treat it. Okay, so that we can be aware of what's going on.
Yeah. The other thing that we need to be aware of is family history. Monica said that she didn't know that her aunt, her mom's sister, had scleroderma, and she found out, of course, afterwards. And that's a big thing too. During these talks and these family reunions, we have got to tell our family members what Big Mama had, what Auntie had, because it comes down the line.
There has been so much secrecy and hush-hushness about our bodies and about what's going on in our lives in families, especially in African American families. Oh, we don't talk about Bruno. No, we don't talk about what Auntie had or what Grandma had. But we really, it's so very important. And we don't know exactly how scleroderma happens, and we don't know if there's for sure a family history, but we can see that sometimes. But it's always good to know what went on. And so guess what that's going to take? Like you said, it's going to take people telling people, and we have to take down that stigma of medical issues. It's not something that, and sometimes it is stuff we do to ourselves, but even if that's the case, we still need to be aware of it, because we need to know what's going on, so that we can also inform our doctors, and so that they can know, well, what things do I need to test for? What things do I need to look for? And so you've got to, I need to make an app. I need to make an app where we are actually chronicling our own history, our own medical issues, our own things, and then something that we can pass down to our kids and our grandkids so that they know what things that we had to deal with physically and mentally as well.
Yeah.
So that they can be aware these are some things that I might be prone to, or these are some things that I might have to watch out as I get older. You know, one of the ways that we can prevent things like breast cancer, we say if a primary person in your family had breast cancer, you need to be getting screened. Don't wait until 40 to get your mammogram. Get yours 10 years before they were diagnosed. But guess what? If you never knew grandma had breast cancer, how do you know that you need to go and get screened early?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a perfect example. Both of my sisters passed away from breast cancer. That's why I'm so conscientious about getting my breast exams. Something else I would just want to mention. Listen, you made the we don't talk about Bruno comment. That shows you have kids in the house.
Listen, I love that movie, even if I didn't, but yes.
Oh my God, I love it. Dr. Nicole Edwards joins us. She is a board certified family physician in Columbia, South Carolina. She is also a very highly sought after public speaker and author. And she joins us today on Coping. We're talking about scleroderma. It's part 2 of our series on scleroderma. We talked to advocate and scleroderma survivor Monica Hilton last week about her journey and struggle with scleroderma. And we brought on Nicole today to talk about it. The other thing she said, Nicole, that was very interesting is that she had surgery to lose weight. She got the sleeve on her stomach. And she said soon after that, that's when her scleroderma symptoms came. And after that, she was told sometimes scleroderma comes on because of trauma to your body, i.e. a surgery. Let's talk about that.
I don't know if we can say that it comes on because of the trauma or because of
Could it be a dormant something that
I don't even know if dormant is the word to use. If you have it, you have it. Okay. But can it come? I guess we could say dormant then, because can it come alive and can it rear its ugly head a little bit more for trauma? Yes, absolutely. And we see that a lot with a lot of autoimmune diseases. Scleroderma being one of those that after major happens, whether that's a surgery, whether that's an illness, whether that is dealing with death, dealing with something that's heavy, then sudden all of those other autoimmune things can all come to light, and then you can see more symptoms, and then you can become more symptomatic. You got scleroderma is an autoimmune disorder. So anytime something affects our immune system, whether that is surgery affects our immune system, whether that means an illness, whether that is stress, whether that is dealing with grief, all of these things also affect our immune system. And then with an autoimmune disease, you got to remember, it makes our immune system fight itself. So instead of our immune system fighting an outside source like a germ, our immune system is fighting our own body. And so when you kick that immune system into high gear and it starts fighting your own body, then all of a sudden your symptoms are going crazy. All right. And so it does seem like it's worsened by, I remember me personally with MS, after I had a surgery once, that is when I had probably one of the worst flares of my life, post-op. And so again, when you're dealing with any type of trauma or any type of increased inflammation, that's going to make your immune system try to protect itself. Unfortunately, our immune system is fighting its own body, and that's what makes an autoimmune disease so bad.
What's the treatment? She mentioned that she's on, a series of pills and medications. 1, is it curable? And 2, what's the treatment?
So unfortunately, right now, as is most autoimmune diseases, we do not have a cure. I think it's really going to take getting somebody like the cake lady, the famous cake lady, Monica, to come out and make this more aware. It's going to have to be some big time celebrity who's going to say, hey, we need to fight for a cure, right? But right now we do not have a cure for scleroderma as with any of the other autoimmune diseases. So right now treatment is about how do we make symptoms more manageable? How do we do things? So a lot of times, like I said, it affects the skin. So how can we make the skin more manageable. It affects your
Yeah.
blood vessels and your blood pressure. So how can we manage that? If you're having problems with your digestive system, how do we manage that? Again, sometimes we just have to quiet the immune system. So we put you on things like Humira and other medications to actually stop your immune system from going into overdrive, methotrexate, things like that, to quiet that immune system down. And then anti-inflammatories, because again, this is your inflammation just going crazy. So we have to put you on anti-inflammatories to make you keep you comfortable and keep you, as keep as going as far as you can and as well as you can.
So did you say, I know at the beginning we were talking about how do you find out? So there's no way to find out if you have it?
Until
you get it?
You can do an autoimmune test and blood draws. But a lot of times it's not a routine. I don't just draw an autoimmune panel on all of my patients. A lot of times, unfortunately, insurance is not going to cover it unless I can. Y'all think that it's all the doctors who make the decisions. It's not us. It's the insurance companies that tell us how to practice medicine, right? And so if I order a test and your insurance company doesn't want to pay for it, and you don't want to pay for it, then the test doesn't get ordered. So a lot of times there has to be a symptom that we can justify the test being ordered before. Now, something like a mammogram, we can justify that. Okay, you need this mammogram to prevent, but we don't test for autoimmune panels until after you have a series of symptoms that we can justify why we're ordering
why you're ordering it. Wow. So the best course is here, like you're saying, check your family history and see if anyone, and this is for anything really, and see, just really what's going on in your family so that you can at least be conscientious about what you're kind of going up against.
And honestly, if you have any autoimmune disease in your family, then that should make you more aware of other autoimmune diseases that you might be more prone to. So if somebody in the family has MS, if somebody in the family has lupus, if somebody in the family has rheumatoid arthritis or scleroderma or, Sjogren's syndrome, any of these things that are autoimmune, even vitiligo is an autoimmune disease that affects the skin. And so I know someone that has both vitiligo and scleroderma, but they've had vitiligo since they were a child.
So are you saying if you have one autoimmune disease, you could have another one too?
It is possible.
Oh, wow.
It is possible. Again, our immune system is fighting ourselves. Who's to tell that immune system where it's fighting? If you have an autoimmune disease, yes, be checking for other things. That's when you need to have a team around you, a team of your primary doctor, your endocrinologist, your rheumatologist, your cardiologist. This is where we all come together to make sure, let's see if we can prevent and catch other things before they happen.
Yeah. Dr. Nicole Edwards is a board certified family physician. She practices in Columbia, South Carolina. She is also a veterans specialist, a published author, and she has a wonderful health spa in Columbia, South Carolina. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today and for shedding the light on not only scleroderma, but other autoimmune diseases and how we should go about kind of caring for our health. And Dr. Nicole is going to come back to us next month when we talk about mental health awareness. Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Always love coping.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So don't forget, you can see the information for Dr. Nicole on the screen. And as she said, we have got to just be more conscientious about our health and the health of our family members. Coming up next, our devotional and more on coping. I'm Tre Tailor.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Sawyer, an entrepreneur and caregiver. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Up to 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. This message brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of SC.
Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. Hey, before I leave, I want to share this devotional with you. This is from Conversations with God. It's from Cheryl Mims Williams with Agape Counseling and Training Services in Columbia, South Carolina. This is such a great book. It includes some of her prayers, some of her diary readings, and devotionals. This one says, "Trust me, my child. I know you're having a hard time praying, studying, and focusing on me. I know you don't like the way this feels. You can't rely on your feelings." That's good. This is about knowing, being faithful, and holding on. Knowing even if you don't feel or see it. Isn't that such a wonderful reminder that God is with us always, even if we don't feel it, see it, or hear it? We've got to know it. That's what faith is all about. It's from Cheryl Mims Williams from Agape Counseling and Training Services. This is called Conversations with God. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping. We're giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life because we will always be coping with something. The good thing about it is that we're never alone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive, ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do, 6 ways to a better you. Coping, find peace of mind to survive